we start now. Angela, I think it's time we start.
Okay. 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 Good afternoon, comrades and friends. Welcome to another session on the discussion of the Progressive Manifesto. Let me introduce myself. I am Angela Francis, a former executive member of the 70s PNPYO and currently a member of the 70s YO fraternity. Comrade Paul Burke and myself will be the co-chairs of this afternoon's session. Just to let you know, Comrade Burke cautioned me not to use the word wonderful today, and I promised him I wouldn't, except to say, it's wonderful that you have decided to join us. Much appreciation. Let me acknowledge Comrade Paul Burke for initiating the concept and idea behind the Progressive Manifesto. I'd also like to express gratitude to the members of the 1970s fraternity for the months of discussion, editing, and re-editing to what has now become the final draft of the Progressive Manifesto. Comrade Leroy Cook should be commended for doing much of the writing on this manifesto. Comrade Leroy Cook is author of the book, Land of My Birth, which is an amazing and inspiring historical sketch of the first 40 years of the PNP. This book is simply a must-read for all Jamaicans, especially members and supporters of the PNP. Comrades, we anticipate and encourage, as usual, a very robust and spirited debate on today's topic, one that will generate pertinent ideas, questions, and concern on this most relevant and concerning issue, which we view with much alacrity. Let me now introduce Comrade Leroy Cook, who will now give a brief overview of the Progressive Manifesto.
Thank you, Angela. What I'm not going to give is an overview of the Progressive Manifesto, but rather of the discussions that we have had so far. Obviously, starting with the Progressive Manifesto and how it developed, it came out of as a reaction to the very bad, if not historic, defeat of the PNP in last year's general elections. It was obvious to us at that time that the party, the PNP, had been abandoned by the voters. Only 16% of the electorate supported the PNP. So we came together to discuss the whys and wherefores and where to go. And we came up with the answer that what we needed to do, what the party needed to do really, was to recommit ourselves to a reform of what Norman Manley called the two-level economy, which had taken over Jamaica. That was as far back as 1968. We decided that two kinds of actions were needed. Firstly, party reform. And secondly, a program for governing with the main aim to reduce the gap between the haves and the have-nots. We might even say the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. In this series of symposia, we have already discussed our proposals for party reforms. And the main points that we agreed and suggest that the party should act on were firstly membership. That is to say that we should distinguish between members and supporters of the party. That members have a greater commitment. The definition, part of the definition of membership is that they have a greater commitment, and that members of the party should be like Gideon's army, putting quality before quantity. Second point of agreement was that there should be a mandatory probationary period and membership orientation for members of the party. Thirdly, we put forward time threshold requirements for representative positions within the party and of the party. To be a delegate, one should be a member of the party for at least 7 months. To run for a position within the party, one should be a member for at least 2 years. To be a local government candidate representing the party, you should be a party member for at least 2 years. And to run as a parliamentary candidate for the party, you should be a party member for at least 3 years. Then fourthly, we agreed that the party needs to take on regional organizers in each region to do party mobilization in each region. And fifthly, that we need to have a policy convention each year in the 6 regions, at least initially. That is to say, a meeting not just to celebrate among ourselves and to elect leaders, but to discuss policy going forward, at least in each region, and perhaps in the future at the national level as well. So an annual policy convention. So now today, we are starting our discussions on the proposals for the government measures that we are suggesting the party should adopt and present to the people of Jamaica well in advance of any coming elections. These proposals do not make up a total government program. Rather, the focus is on those measures which we consider absolutely necessary to reduce the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Today, we are going to start with the subject of energy in Jamaica, or transforming the energy landscape in Jamaica. Next week, we will go on to discuss primary education, remembering Michael Manley's words that no society can approach the organization of equality except within the framework of a single integrated educational system. But before that, today, we discuss energy. Thank you, Comrade Chairman.
Thank you, Comrade Cook. Now we'll turn to Comrade Denton, who will present the rationale for this evening's topic.
Good evening, comrades and friends. And again, to repeat what Angela said, welcome to the discussion. Now, as mentioned, the PNPYO fraternity is starting the first discussion with respect to the key demands on government with a discussion on energy. We all have to pay high electricity bills, watch the cost of gas climb at the pumps, and taxi and bus fares going up. And if you're involved in any type of manufacturing, no matter how small, the cost of electricity, of energy, often makes the production cost of whatever you want to produce very high, and oftentimes not competitive. As we know, there are many products coming in from the outside that lands in Jamaica at a cheaper rate than we are able to make the product locally. Now, I know talking energy is not a sexy subject, except perhaps for someone like Philip Paulwell, who we'll hear from later on. However, we had to start with this topic because of its monumental impact on every aspect of our lives. Its impact on the fundamental question of how can we grow the economy. And comrades and friends, don't forget why it is important to grow the economy. The growth of the economy is how each Jamaican, not just the rich, but how each Jamaican can feed herself, can send his children to school, can go to the doctor when we're sick, can get a job, start a business, etc. It's the path to allowing each Jamaican to live a life of dignity, hope, with a real possibility to achieve our dreams and aspirations and to truly prosper. As Bob Marley said, we do this so there's no more first-class citizen and second-class citizen in our land. We have started with this subject again because of its urgency. It impacts every aspect of our daily lives. Our survival is tied to it like the proverbial umbilical cord. Not only is the cost of imported fuel going up, but alarms are going off globally on a looming energy crisis due to diverse and complex factors. There is the real possibility of shortages. Now, I'm not going to give you the mind-numbing numbers of how much we pay to import fuel, etc. I leave that to David. But what you absolutely must take from this presentation is the importance and the urgency of any government of Jamaica to have in place an energy policy that works for the good of all, betterment for all. At this time, Madam Chair, I turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Denton, and you've spoken so clearly about what Dr. Martin Luther King said about the urgency of now, and that is how this should be viewed. So I will now introduce, or I will call on Comrade, it doesn't need any introduction really, Comrade Noel R. Scott, who will introduce our feature speaker for this afternoon, Comrade David Cook. So Comrade R. Scott, can you please do the honors?
Thank you very much, Comrade Angie. Comrades all, good afternoon. We all knew of the illustrious brothers of Leroy and Royal Cook. However, at that time, we didn't really hear of the other brother who I am about to introduce. I met him sometime in the 90s when we were both in manufacturing in Jamaica. And I was so impressed with his capacity for details and things mechanical and electrical. In fact, he introduced me to the QuickBooks and accounting system, which we used effectively when I was in the manufacturing business. And we had quite a number of exchange. But when I became Minister of Local Government, and we were struggling with the issue of how to pay for streetlights, and I discovered that what we had in Jamaica was the sodium vapor lamps. And what was available in the world was LED light emitting diode electrical streetlights, which were highly efficient and 60% less in terms of energy. So at some point, I had a discussion with our illustrious presenter, and he pointed out to me, if you could understand if Portmore, every house or most houses in Portmore were to put on solar panels, the effect on the economy would be significant. The streetlight proposal that we had was to change out sodium vapor to LED. We were in discussion with a company, American company, PNPYO, who would build, own, operate, and transfer. They were proposing to build a solar farm in every parish to feed into the grid and to later to provide backup batteries to supply the grid and to put the local authorities in a position to be a base load supplier of electricity to JPS and certain net zero costs of streetlights to Jamaica, which would include cameras, listening devices, and the ability, since it was web-based, to make the internet available to every rural community. And so David really encouraged me to pursue it. Unfortunately, the government of Jamaica, my party, my government, found a way to torpedo the proposal. And so today the JPS continue to rip us off. So indeed, it's a great pleasure to invite David Cook to come forward to present an alternative to the fiasco that we face in Jamaica, high energy costs and the effects on the national economy and the capacity of solving this problem in advancing the future of Jamaica. I therefore welcome Comrade David Cook.
Thank you, Butch. Can I call you that? Okay.
Can we remove your agenda from the screen and put David up on it?
Thank you. All right, now, Butch asked me before we came on what he should say to introduce me, and I told him just be honest. As simple as that. So whatever he told you a while ago, I had nothing to do with what he said. No, I looked on your agenda. I think you made a mistake there. Somebody gave me 15 minutes. Is that accurate?
I think you should take what time you need.
Thank you. Because we discussed a lot more than that. Now, I would like to switch over to my screen. If I can exit the full, put up for you. My screen, if you can, is it on? Tell me when it's on. I have to go to share screen.
Screen sharing.
Yeah, but the host, let me in, please.
Alicia, are you allowing him to share the screen?
Yes, he's allowed to share a screen. Check it, David. You're allowed to share a screen.
Who's disabled?
You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
NTV and show news.
Everybody got that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, seeing you now.
Good. What a lot of people, when they think of energy, they think in a very narrow way. That is so unfortunate. Energy is the driver of your economy. Somebody's mic is unmuted. Please mute your mic. Thank you. It is the driver of your economy. The bigger the drive, the bigger the engine, the stronger the economy, the bigger the economy. I will show you that so that you cannot dispute it in a little while. The other thing you have to be aware of with energy is that you wield power through energy. Power can be wielded against you through energy, and you can also use energy to wield power. So it's a very dangerous game both ways around. But what I really want to focus on today to kick off all of these is to just how big an economy can you build via energy? Just how big in Jamaica? That is what we're focusing on today, because people think of it and they think in terms of a percentage addition. No. You can double, you can triple, you can quadruple, you can keep on going as long as you understand the underlying aspects of it. That means doubling the amount of money running in the country, doubling the number of jobs, or tripling or quadrupling the amount of money and jobs running, and then keep on going nonstop until all those people in your own family that you have to be helping out now have their own jobs and let go your pocket. And we all live a whole lot better life because you understand that energy is the engine of your economy. We're not talking about cost. We're not talking about price. We're not talking about your home bills. We're looking at it from the point of view of building as large as we can your economy, to absorb all those jobs out there, to get your economy really firing on all engines. Cost is secondary. It is not primary. And you will see that as I go along. You can engineer price. It is not a product of supply and demand. You can engineer that, but you will see that as well. So what I would like to do is, instead of talking to all of you and you all disagree with me in your head, is to get you involved with what I'm about to do to help to build the economy as big as you can build it. You are going to get involved. I am calling you out now because I'm doing this not as an engineer, but as a planner, which I'm trained to do. So don't worry about it. I'll guide you. I'll help guide you. I will give you the information as we go. I will give you the history. Things will become clearer to you. And then I want you to use that information to build it as large as you can. So with that, I'm doing this then as a demonstration and education in one go. It is much more impactful than if you just sit back and listen to me. So I'd like some volunteers, please, for the Treasury. And the Treasury is a loose term, meaning your Minister of Finance, and then your Junior Minister, and your bank, your Governor of the Bank of Jamaica. So if you can put yourself in there, just put your hand up by clicking on the bottom of your screen to put your hand up to volunteer for those 3 posts. Please, I would love for you to do that. And for the Ministry of Energy, well, I see we have 2 people on the agenda for that, so I will assume that those 2 will take up those duties, being the Senior Minister and the Junior Minister in the Ministry of Energy. 1 person is not enough. Similar for the Ministry of Growth, or whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it Industry and Commerce, whether you want to. 2 people, please, if you can put your hands up, give us a thumbs up that you will take on that in the background so that you're checking me as I go. All these people are going to be checking me as I go. I'm going to be seeing the outcome of as I do it. On the fund side, if I can ask my 2 handlers. First, Paul, if you can take up the duties for me of the transformation, the actual transformation of the energy from the fuel-driven as we have now to whatever it becomes. And Leroy, if you can do the same for me on the wealth building side that comes out of it, to build the wealth, the income, the wealth to income fund that comes out of it. And if somebody will partner along with Roy and partner along with, so that we have two people, as when you're doing any of these things, you must always have an understudy who can take over from you if you're sick or if something goes wrong with you. Okay, so with that, let's go. And it's on your screen so you can read along. I'm just gonna talk over it. History. The first time that energy was used to power entire economies, not little sections. It quickly obliterated and destroyed the old world order. Complete disruption and innovative. As a system, remember I tell you, as a systems planner, you have to think of energy as part of a system. You're gonna put together an entire system. It possesses the ability to transform small enterprises into large ones anywhere quickly and completely. Think of doing that in Jamaica. You can go into any area and take a small enterprise, whether it is farming, whether it's manufacturing, whatever it is, and transform that into a large enterprise by pouring energy in. What a difference your economy would look like. So what type was it that overturned the world? Capital only. And the second thing you must recognize, it has to be abundant. If it's not abundant, you will not get the Big Bang. So you only capital purchase, no fuels. Other people can manipulate fuels and keep you in bondage. Has to be abundant. So it was human energy. No need to feed subhuman, just replace them at wear out. Capital only. No fuel. And that system upended the old world order. Asia was relegated to the weakest and the poorest, all within 50 years. Within 50 years. And why did Asia go down like a rock? Because their system that had been there for 1800 years. This new system has only been there for 600 years. 3 times as long for the Asian system built on trade, and therefore it favored large populations. The larger the population, the more you had to trade. So Asia dominated the 54% of global GDP, mainly China. India fluctuated between 24 and 26%. Overthrown in just 50 years by tiny population upstarts. Why? Innovative and disruptive. Energy-driven Western Europe, innovative and disruptive. I want you as you go along so that you start to pick out the things that you're gonna use to build your system. I am saying things here hoping that you understand. So I need to do that. So ever since that, energy has been dominant feature of the strongest and the richest economies. And I will show you that in a little while. The type of energy changed to physical fuels when everybody said, no, you can't use humans to do this anymore. So you change to physical fuels. First, using water wheels and windmills, but that could not give you abundance. And so you added mined fuels, especially coal. And coal then drove the Industrial Revolution that continued to put the UK, Britain, at the helm of the world. Britain drove the Industrial Revolution. Dominance continues up to this day, even although Britain is no longer the biggest because they got weakened because they were spending.
I see that Maureen has her hand up. Is she allowed to come in at this time?
I would rather finish and
Okay.
then we take everything after.
All right.
A lot of the things they're gonna ask me, I'm gonna be dealing with anyway. So it's gonna go away after the questions. And then when we come to it afterward, we discuss it all. Is that okay with everybody?
Sorry, my hand was just, it wasn't up for a question, sorry.
Okay. You were volunteering for one of the positions. Thank you.
Exactly.
Right. So Britain was weakened for the last time in the Second World War, when they just spent every damn thing they had trying to defend their country, overtaken, of course, by the USA. And you will see that happen in the charts when you look at energy. And then USA got threatened in the 80s and the 90s by Japan, who became the second largest GDP in the world. And you will see that reflected in energy use. And then when Japan got stymied because of fuels being imported, they don't have anything to create their own fuels. They were, in fact, the leaders in pioneering solar for that very same reason. And then when they lost their way and backed off of solar, they got overrun at the same time that USA put the squeeze on them in terms of car manufacturing. And so they had to ship a lot of the car manufacturing over to the US, which means they're short of, they don't have as much foreign exchange anymore. And they got squeezed, and therefore their economy stagnated. Their stock market, which had moved from 10,000 to 40,000, stagnated and dropped back to 10,000. And a lot of other indices like that. And then, of course, China overtook them and overtook everybody, including the USA, by 2011. If you look at their GDP in purchasing power, they became the biggest by purchasing power in 2011, a full 10 years ago. People don't realize that. So if we quickly look at some of those charts, you'll see what I'm saying. Here we go, gross domestic product from 1960. And you can see China in green. Here we go for China, moving up the line, overtaking Japan here, and it is now second largest. That's your gross domestic product. If you look at the energy use by electricity side of things, you see the exact same thing. So one is a reflection of the other. Energy drives the economy. The bigger you use, the more you use it, the bigger your economy is. And it is not just in the big guys. It reflected as well. Let me come back to where we were. So even before looking at using fuel as a weapon, let me show you comparative to Jamaica. Jamaica versus Trinidad, 1960 to 2019, before the pandemic. Jamaica is in blue, gradual growth through that time. Trinidad, half the size of Jamaica, half the population of Jamaica, and now they are shooting somewhere in the region of 21 to Jamaica's 14. In terms of your gross domestic product in constant dollars, not today's dollars, 2010 dollars. In other words, we have removed the impact of inflation so that you can get a more correct comparison between the two. I will just say to you that we also had another country. So we're Australian, that is half a Jamaica population. We have another country that was in the same boat like Jamaica back in 1960, but with twice the population of Jamaica. And it is spoken about a lot, which is Singapore. And they say, oh, why can't we do like Singapore done? And they give you a lot of what Singapore done and did to get there. Well, take a look, see for yourself. Night and day. And we'll come to that in a while as to why that is so. Now, if I can, how do I get rid of this up here? It's in my way. Okay. So looking at electricity compared to what you just saw a while ago, you see the exact same thing here. Trinidad, Jamaica is stuck at 3.9 or about 4 million megawatt hours per year. Trinidad, half the population is putting out more like 10 to our 4, more than double Jamaica. And you saw the exact same thing in their GDP. You have to understand this link, my friends. Energy is the driver of your economy. If you just treat it as if it's to supply electricity at your home, you have lost the battle already. Now let's see how Singapore, if I were to put them on to compare again, in terms of their electricity production, and you can see the marked difference that Jamaica has virtually flatlined in GDP and in electricity production. Singapore is a constant upward trend. Now, those who are in the growth industry, please note 50 versus 4 for Jamaica and 10. So you see where Jamaica can go. So if you take that 50 and recognize that Singapore is twice the population, cut that in half to Jamaica, and you're shooting to say, let's get to 25. We are at 4 now. Keep that in mind. So coming back to this, you begin to see how big an economy Jamaica could have if you get it right. So, fuel as a control used to continue the dominance. For instance, you're jacking up our prices. Russia, for instance, against Ukraine, where at the time, everywhere else. You saw it with OPEC against the world when they decided to up the prices, double it and quadruple it. You see it used by the USA as an embargo tool to embargo Cuba, and under Donald Trump to try and do the same against Iran. You have to understand these ramifications if you're going to look at how am I going to create a new energy system for Jamaica to escape these issues. You now see Asia fighting back. And if I were to click on Vietnam there and put it into it, you would see it, but time is running out, so I take my word for it for now. But I want to point out something else to you. It's not just building a lot of energy to drive your economy. China did it a smart way. They protected themselves first by a large wealth fund. That way, they're invincible. People can't force them to accept dictates from abroad. Cannot be forced because you have a large wealth fund. You have big reserves that they cannot force you. Now, if I show you that, you will see what I'm talking about. Come on. Here we go. Look at that. China has 3 different wealth funds, a total of $2.2 trillion, and none of it is linked to oil. 2.2 trillion, and they did this first upfront, so to speak, before they started to go at improving their nation. The biggest non-governmental owned fund is Norway in 3rd position. It is a citizens owned fund, please note, not a sovereign wealth fund, of 1.3 trillion. And you can come down the line and you will see the rest. I might say to you, I am speaking to you from Canada. And again, Canada likewise does not have a sovereign wealth fund, not a government-owned wealth fund. But nevertheless, they have pretty big funds. But I'm taking too much time, I'll just move along. So coming back, you begin to understand you have to put that in the mix if you are planning, if you are building systems, entire systems out of the dust of energy. I'll say to you that you might not know right now that the Nordic countries are on top of the world. Nordic countries are the 5 northern Western Europe countries, Scandinavia being 3 of them, Sweden and I forget who else make up the other 2. They are top of the world. Top of the world due to innovative hydro. Note the word innovative. And their large wealth fund. Norway has the largest citizens' wealth fund of, like I said, 1.3 trillion. But please note this about those Nordic countries. Nordics are global leaders in individual income and income equality and wealth, the trifecta. Not the USA, not Britain, not Canada, not anybody else. The Nordic countries. How did they do it? The Danes, Denmark, through wind turbines. Norway, through hydro. They have a lot of snow, and therefore they use hydro to drive their economy. They do not use their oil wealth. They use their oil wealth to drive their wealth fund. Now remember, these are small population places, and yet they lead the world. They're on top of the world. Why? Let's take offshore wind, where everybody's saying, you can't put wind turbines in the rough seas. And they pioneered that, the Danes. You can't drill oil in the North Sea for the same reason, it's too rough. And Norway went and did that and led the world. You don't wait for others to do it. You become leaders, not followers. Norway is also now the leaders in electric vehicle adoption. Over 80% of all vehicles sold in Norway are electric. And I don't mean partial electric, full electric. So please, I hope you're making these notes as we go. So you ask yourself, then why not Jamaica? No, you already have half of the answer as to how to reform your energy to make it big and grow your economy. But here's the other half. Because of what I call Kissinger's fuel chokehold, which happened in 1973, please note the year. 1 year after Michael Manley rode in with almost 2/3 of Jamaicans ushering him in. Kissinger went across to Saudis and made an alliance with them, which you call the petrodollar. It says only US dollars henceforth can be used to purchase any fuels, even coal, only US dollars. So anybody who is short of foreign exchange you're screwed. I hope you understand that. If you can't break the foreign exchange trap, you can't grow. All the economies that escaped, Joe Cole, that could not escape, like Japan, I just telling you about, flatline. No overtaking. They used to be the second largest economy in the world. Countries that did escape, you saw Singapore, you saw how big Singapore has grown. I've already showed you these charts down here, the ones for Jamaica versus Trinidad versus Singapore. I could have had it in Vietnam, but that's okay. You get the point. So you first have to break that chokehold if you're going to build a big economy. Now, your balance, your current account balance is essentially your foreign exchange. Excuse me a minute. So if you look at your foreign exchange balance, you will see this. I can go up and find it quickly. Is this it? Here you are with your current account balances for Jamaica. Trying to see what it is. And as you can see, Jamaica is negative every year. Negative. Going all the way back in the early 70s. And the more you get negative, the more you devalue your dollar. That is what it means. You're supposed to be positive. You're supposed to have a bank balance. You have no balance. You have to be taking out your local economy. Your local economy has a purchasing power of 26 billion US. You only need 500 million to break this trap. And as you can see here, it is telling you quite clearly, 550 million or negative 0.55 billion, whatever you want to call it. And it also tells you that the average, for the world average, is 1.82 billion. Positive 1.82. Jamaica is negative 550 million. Average. Somebody has their mic on. So this is what is holding you back. This is what we have to focus on to overcome this hurdle first. And then after blowing through this, you then blow your economy way bigger by then driving energy. So getting to that, I don't know how my time is going. I hope I'm on time. Anyway, so here we are. So the chokehold, as I just showed you, is negative 73, and put Michael Manley out of business because his party, the economic advisors, had no answer. I'm not blaming Michael Manley. I'm saying his economic advisors had no answer. They were strong on the left in terms of the social side and the political scientists, a lot of them in the party, but when it comes to the other side of things, for the economy, almost nobody. So I hope you understand that nobody can walk on one leg. Left leg alone can't walk. You need left and that reasonably strong right foot to be able to walk. So stop the cuss, stop the cascas, stop running people out of your party. You need them to be able to walk. I'm sorry to be so rude and strong, but it needs to be said. I am a centrist. I've always been a centrist, but I'm a proud progressive. Progressive, if you don't understand the terminology, means somebody who wants to grow by building your middle class. So you're able to grow, build your middle class, both economically and socially. That is what a progressive is. Most of both parties are progressives. The difference comes down to how do you apply the policies. But I'll come back to that. So here we go. So your balance was negative, and therefore the valuation follow you all the days of your life. Like it says, negative 550 million. So let's look now. How can you break that? Well, if I can come back up here now and look at your, oh man, here we go. And I think everybody needs to be very conscious of this. This is in Jamaica's entire energy flow, taking in right down to the cigarette you have in your mouth, right down to the wood that you burn. Everything has been converted into how much energy does it produce. And as you can see, you are almost entirely dependent on the green, which is imported petroleum, imported. Remember how energy can rule the world? No importation, none. Now, this then, if you look at it, you will notice 120 PJs, petajoules. Forget don't worry about that too much right now. This was back in 2011, and it is the only visual that I can find anywhere. It is 10 years old, and it is almost identical today. The only difference is solar here, which was 0, is now 0.42. Not even 1.42. Hardly registering on the scale. So you have a slight yellow line now. Now, Paul, who I just designated, will turn this into not a little narrow strip, but a big wide strip of yellow becoming orange. And this is going to shrink. So you're knocking out green for orange. You're knocking out green for yellow. And I'm not being political. I'm saying these greens are greenbacks flowing out of your country, my country. Flowing out, which is why Kissinger have you in a chokehold up to this day. So let's look at the inefficiencies in the system and tackle those first. We're using 42 to get an output of 15 from electricity. Whoa, wasteful, wasteful, wasteful. But if you think that bad, you're using bigger, you're using 50 for transportation to get 10. So when you hear me describe JPS as being a steam engine company, I am not joking. When you hear me say that the transport you have on the road are gas guzzlers that guzzling 50 to move your 10, I am not joking. You're seeing it for yourself. We can change those. And what little is left here of about 20 or 25, we can tackle that as the last resort, because that is fairly efficient. Overall 31, when you include the electricity, along with the 20 and whatever else, but giving you 25 out. So 31 to 25, they're not wasting much. But that tells me that they're not using it to make electricity. They're using it more than likely for boilers. Boilers that can do ackee and all the other foods that we need boilers to be able to, so things like that. So we'll tackle that last. I'm gonna tackle electricity first. I'm gonna knock out JPS entirely by not importing anything so that you go capital only. and you get your fuels in abundance, which is around you, which is both sunshine and wind. Yes, wind is in abundance too, just because you're down at the earth ground level that you don't realize it. Go 100 meters up, go 150 meters up, and you will not drop. It will probably keep you up there. It is so strong. So after that, we then start to tackle transportation and go exactly like what Norway has done. Convert that to electric so that your 10 will still be 10, but your input will just be 11. In other words, we're knocking out almost 40 out of transportation and another 40 out of GPS, which is 80 out of 120. And yes, we can, as you will see. So coming back here, you see all of that, you see the fuel, you can remove the fuel for transport, and as the last part, you can eliminate industrial fuel. Now, once you do that, you're getting much closer to the 1.8 billion per year because you're knocking out. If you go back to that chart I just showed you, and you convert that to money, that 120 petajoules divided by 6 cents will give you 1 million barrels of oil, barrel of oil equivalent. So we convert everything to barrel oil equivalent, and you start to see that you're looking at $75 a barrel average, you're looking at $1.4 billion, 1,400 million US dollars a year. And you can pretty much knock it all out. You're moving closer to the world average, which is 1.8. We can get there. If we do it by capital only energy, using your free abundant fuels that you have, and critical now, if the capital is supplied by the treasury, are you hearing me? You can get an immediate bullet start like pocket rocket. Yeah, you escape borrowings, you're not increasing your debt. You don't want to get any more into debt traps. Let me explain what I mean here. Right now, every month, your little money that is coming into the country from your little brethren abroad, your brother, your sister, your uncle, who's over there cleaning people's house and sweeping them, whatever, and trying to send money back to keep you alive. Remittances, yes. That is actually 240 to 280 million a month. I am saying to you, for 150 million, which is not even 1 month of remittance, 150 a year, you can get this done. And I will show you in a while. Okay. Let's go to these charts here. Treasury only capital, treasury capital returns, so that you can see it for yourself. I hope you can see. Let's start at the beginning. Your funding, 150 million a year. And your GPS fuel, which right now is 600 million a year, just shy of 600 million, about 580. And I can pull up GPS's report and show it to you, so I'm not guessing. If I can get in enough storage, my first year, storage, and you probably wonder why I start with storage rather than generation. Very simple. You are manufacturing electricity, you're not producing electricity. Please stop using that terminology. This is not oil, you're not pumping oil, you're manufacturing. Anybody in the manufacturing sector, and a lot of you in listening in the background, come out of manufacturing or know something about it. Anybody in manufacturing, you don't manufacture any goods except for premium, high price goods. Any other goods, you use inventory to keep the price down. Inventory. Storehouse, you always keep some in storage. There is nobody who is manufacturing on the fly to supply demand on the fly, except JPS. So what the heck are you doing? What are you? Is this Gucci? Is that what you're doing? No wonder your prices are high. You understand why your prices are high now? Because you have no storage. If you look abroad, everybody operates with storage. You might not recognize it as storage because New Jersey will borrow from New York when them short and give it back to them when they have excess, or borrow from the neighboring state. That is storehouse inventory. JPS for the last 70 years or thereabout has never incorporated storage in their manufacturing of electricity. Therefore, you're producing high-priced goods. If I put in 100, and I'll tell you why I say 100, the very first year, if I can put in 100 megawatts of storage, JPS fuel bill drops to 400. You just saved 200 million US that year and every year after. And if I continue to put in that 100 of storage every year, plus enough generation to refill the storage, to refill your storehouse, to refill your inventory, notice the approach. This will continue to come down each year on your fuel, so that the minimum I need to do that over 10 years, you're going to take all of 10 years this way to break Kissinger's chokehold. And the minimum is 150 million a year. Sorry, my throat is dry. 1 minute. So having done that, how much will be returned to the Treasury? Everybody seeing this? So here we are. By the second year, I would have returned 500 million to the Treasury. By the end of the second year, end of, not the start. And all you have given me so far is 150 twice. That's 300, and I give you back 500. Give you back in the sense that you knock out fuel. Somebody saying something to it? No? Okay. So we can do this. So here, you have given me 150 times 10, or 1.5 billion, and the Treasury would have seen a difference of almost 4.5 billion return to them. If that is not a good return, then this plan I have here is a total failure. But I want to show you something else. I'm speeding things up here now. Let me go back up here so that we can come back in. So by Treasury funding alone, if you sell me a JPS, you escape choke in 10 years, meaning a minimum of 150 million annual. That funding don't have to be one lump sum. It can be spread out over months to make it easy for the Treasury to do it without having to borrow. At that amount, the 10-year returns, as we just showed you, is more like 4.5. I had it here as 3.5. That's a mistake. I read over 3 times. And we haven't started to stimulate the private sector to copy what we are doing, including LPS. So all of this can be speeded up. This can be a bigger bang. We can break Kissinger's fuel hole much earlier if we can stimulate the private sector to do likewise. But don't stop there. Let me give you some background. Trinidad, as you saw in the charts before, half the population of Jamaica, and they are pumping out 10 million megawatt hours per year. Jamaica is pumping out 4. Both of us encountered devaluation back in '73 because the kitchen is chokehold. By 1980, both of us had slipped to 6-1 or thereabouts. But Trinidad halted their slide. They're still at 6-1. Since then, until now, Jamaica continues to slide because every year you have a negative a negative current account balance, a negative foreign exchange balance. You're putting out more than you're bringing in. You have a negative balance. So we are at 150-1. So how did Trinidad do it? They went after transportation fuel by repaving the old train lines, repave it, single vehicle, because they never have a lot of money. Repave the old train lines and turn that and put the big buses on it, transit. How much did it have an impact? You take a look, you tell me. Trinidad, back in 1980, was using 16,000 barrels per day of gasoline. And by doing that, what I just told you of repaving the old train lines, that 16 became 4, less than 4. That's a whole heap of transport fuel savings. And this has nothing to go in electric vehicles. This is not EV. They put in big buses, make sure they can go fast. They only had enough money to pave the train lines for a single bus, so they use the same transfer systems at these bus stops. And you don't put that in for frequent stops. You're going 10, 15, 20 miles before you stop. Jamaica could have done that from a long time ago, and government still can, in addition to whatever we are doing here today. This can help in a big way because it removes a lot of transportation fuel. If you were to repave those train lines from Kingston through Portmore, through Spanish Town, all the way up to Porus, which means you're going through Maypen as well. Forget the hill. I'm going to go up the hill to Mandeville. You could do this almost immediately and get that kind of savings. So the money you're spending to do it, you're going to save more than the money you spend with this kind of cut. That's what Trinidad did. But transportation, because they were using a lot more transport than Jamaica was. Jamaica was at 7, Trinidad was at 16. Almost 3 times the amount of gasoline consumption. So they were actually consuming, whereas Jamaica is 50 petajoules, as you just saw, they were probably 60 or 70 petajoules to Jamaica's 50, even though they have half the population. So they went at transport first and did that. I am saying these things to you because this is within the government's sphere to get done, not the fund, not the wealth to income fund. But this can put a lot of money into the coffers of the government that you can turn things around in addition to what the wealth to income fund is doing. Trinidad also did something else for the electricity side. And I was living in Trinidad at the time. I was a student of the people who actually went to Dr. Eric Williams, the Prime Minister, and made him do it. So I know it firsthand. Remember, you were looking at JPS at 42, big, broad, green. 42 to give you 15. Wasteful. What they did in Trinidad is my professors went to the Prime Minister and said, look, take out this gas guzzling business and replace it with jet engines. Not electric turbines, jet engines. Because jet engines only waste 2% of your fuel, 2%. Not 70% like JPS is doing. So that added to the gasoline thing you see here now, you're adding the same kind of thing now for electricity, and that is why Trinidad is ahead of you. And that is why their devaluation halted. And now they're way ahead of you. We're doing 4, they are doing 10. That is a measure of the difference in your economy. And I showed it to you on the other chart where you could see it on the economy. So then, so as not to get ahead of myself, let me come back. So who am I? Got my tertiary education in electrical engineering, although the people who sent me there wanted me to do mechanical and almost forced me to do it. And I said, no, mechanical engineers are narrow-minded. I am sorry if I'm insulting anybody and that they don't think broad and wide. And in today's terms, it would be considered a triple major in what I did in power supply, power production, power, everything around power, but systems and systems control, which is over and above power. You're looking down from above, looking down at what systems are you using to do your power? What systems are you using to do NWC water? What systems are you doing? How are you controlling it? What controls do you have in there to bring the cost? Systems and control. That's why I'm talking it today as a systems engineer. And I tripled in the business finance. So I know the finance side of it as well. So I understand the worst case, which is steam engine JPS, wasting 70% of your fuel. And the best case, jet turbine, Trinidad and Tobago, wasting just 2%. One is sipping, the other one is guzzling. And on top of the guzzling that JPS is doing, is that they are producing as if them is Gucci and what is the fancy bag with the women wear, which you only produce a limited amount of, what you call that? That is JPS. And you wonder why your price is high? You put in storage, that price cut in half almost immediately. You are a manufacturer. Get it into your head. You're not producing like you're pumping oil. Manufacturing. So at age 18 now, here I am, new, down in Trinidad, starting this course. And put me into the chokehold. Into the chokehold. What do I mean by that? The funds that should have been sufficient to pay for my year in college was suddenly insufficient. Devaluation reached it. Didn't have enough money, could not buy textbooks. Only enough to put food in your mouth and go rent a place off campus. Naturally, I failed the first year. I had to repeat. By age 25, being back in Jamaica and now working for a while, I was called to government duty, if you want to put it that way, to turn around AMC, Agricultural Marketing Corporation, which I did in about 3.5 years. How? By swapping small amounts by swapping out recurrent into capital. What do I mean by that? In this case, I was using my recurrent budget. I had no capital budget, and I was using my recurrent budget, take out some of it to improve and extend storage and the shelf life of farm produce. For instance, peanuts that normally only about 3 months out of the year you have to sell, extended the shelf life to over 7 months, going 9 months, so that by the time Manning Cup roll around, we are the only people in Jamaica who now have peanuts. And of course, we're gonna sell it at a higher price because all that storage is not cheap. And that is dry storage, parched dry storage in that case. If you look at something like Negro yam and yellow yam that have a 3-week and a 4-week shelf life, and you take that and you apply a little bit of technology to it so as to thicken the skin, grow the skin in controlled temperature and humidity. It becomes no longer 3-week and 4-week. It becomes 3 months shelf life and 4 months shelf life. So I have a whole heap of time to ship that to the continent and have lots of time on the shelves to sell it. And now I can get a good price for it. And in a 1.5 years, yams alone, shipped to Britain, was bringing in $1.5 million a year, just yams. So you understand what I say? I don't stick around and wait for somebody else to do it before me. You have a brain, use it. And once you do it, go big. Once you prove it, go big. We started with 1 40-foot trailer. And once we prove that, we immediately jump to 10. And then you're gonna jump again to 100 the next year. Don't waste time, go flat out. And that's how we turned around AMC. I can give you a lot of other examples in there. The first year, their losses were, that's a touch under 10 million for the year. It was actually 9.7. And within 3 years, they were running on their own money, never having to go to the treasury again to ask, can I have some money, please? Nope, you're producing your own. You know, not yet profitable according to the standard of how you regard profit. You have not yet overcome your fixed costs. In other words, your depreciation. But cash flow wise, you're on your own, you're ready to go. And some of you who know the rest of that story, I will just leave that there for now as to why AMC went out of business. It had nothing to do with being on government budget anymore. They were on their own. It was a total political decision to close it down. And I will just stop there and say no more. By age 29, before I turned 30, I was into my own business. Butch, remember that? That's when you met me. Built by, again, unique innovation, in this case, via technology. I was actually producing ice cream to the tune of 2 tons per week, using equipment that I designed and got made, all stainless steel, because the barrier, the entry into this thing is you need large capital, which clearly I don't have. I have to mortgage my damn house to do this. So I had to figure it out. innovation, strengthened by further innovation with energy. All the heat that is coming out of all this, I was trapping out of that heat, pulling it back in, reusing it. And this is around the time that Butch met me and started visiting me at my factory right up there in Mandeville. I won't tell you where. And I had to pull out because I went and borrowed major money at the wrong time when your whole banking system collapsed. And I won't get into that today. I want to stick with the topic. But you also need to be aware that I was an early adopter of distributed power at my Maypen store. Why? Because JPS was driving me around the bend every week, Sunday evening, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, JPS put in 3 hour, 4 hour power cut. At the time when everybody wanted to come buy ice cream. So I went abroad and brought in almost an identical unit, but a smaller one to what I would be recommending to use, and put it into the store that I could have light and power right up front and could continue to sell. Because ice cream, for those who don't know it, your profit is in keeping it frozen. If it melts and go flat, you have no profit. Okay, so that gives you an idea there of why I am saying. So you now have most of the points you need to be able to create your system. I hope you have been writing them down. You need capital only, no fuel, must be abundant, etc., etc., etc. I hope you have been paying attention. So the what and the why explained. Up to here, I haven't told you how. If the JLP was doing this, they would go up and produce, like Butch said, was happening in Clarendon there, where they went and put up massive solar farms. But being a party which says democratize everything, you want to split up those farms instead and put it on your houses. The same size thing, broken up into little pieces, put on your houses, and then I can agglomerate everything to give me back the same total amount. Different approach. And as I've already mentioned, storage, because when you put in storage first, you now have the most ideal system that never, ever goes offline. It is 24/7, always on. Always on. Now, in the introduction to me, now you understand that we do it that way. The little man who is trying to start up his manufacturing business don't have to worry about GPS clap him in the middle of when him trying to do his production, which used to happen to me. Generation, especially from GPS, is intermittent. You never know when. That is what intermittent means. You don't know when. You can't use intermittent to describe.
No waiting room.
You can't use intermittent to describe solar.
Hold on, let me look at
wind.
security.
It is highly predictable. I
All
know
right, let me see. All right.
somebody have their microphone on. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, the sun will be up. That is very.
David, I have my phone and you have to wrap up now.
Thank you.
We are well over time.
Okay, so let me get and show you the rest of the chart so you can see them very quickly. So here we are. If I do it in a distributive way, I cut fuel theft. Right now, JPS is losing 1/4 of everything that they produce. But because you're doing it distributively, what excess from my house, go to the next house, go to the next house, down the line, until it's done. Short distances, not long distances. And so you cut your fuel theft. And you actually can get rid of it in 6 years, not 10 years anymore. You shorten it by 4 years. Now, things start to look good. And what does the treasury returns look like? 5.8 going 6 billion, because fuel for JPS gone to nothing by year 6. For the rest of the years, as they give me the extra 150 million, it starts to cut into transportation fuel. And I'm now cutting the transportation fuel, getting rid of transportation fuel as I go along. And that is without reinvesting any of that money that I'm getting from the household stuff. We can put that on the household thing and charge you half the price. Half the price. Your fuel bill, your GPS bill just cut in half. A half lease cost, rental cost per month, half of what you used to pay to JPS. And if I take that money that is accumulating and put it into more equipment and reinvest, everything speed up. And since you say I'm running out of time, we'll just come to year 10. By year 10, you have almost 2,800 megawatts versus right now GPS is 500 average. If it's running all the way, it's at 500, and you do almost 2,800. You see this size growth in your economy, and this is just through your 150 million. I don't know how much more will be added by the private sector. So you're expanding your economy big time. You're catching up to, you're surpassing Trinidad, and you're now going down the road. You're going after Singapore size. So with that, I will try and cut it and just come to the end here and say, expect this. We eliminate all fuel imports, all 1,400 million, requires fuel-free and new power of some 14 million megawatt hours, which translates to 1,600 megawatt. Not 500, compare that to the 500. But that's over 3 times JPS. But if power rates drop in half, which we expect the power usage to double. People are going to start to use more. So that 16 is going to become 3,200 that you're going to need to now generate. With your manufacturing, which right now is just 800 megawatts, sorry, which is just, how much is it? Very small, 80 megawatts. And 170 customers island-wide for 80 megawatts. Expect that that's going to probably 10 times. So you're going to be over 800. So you're looking at about 8 times more, or a total of 4,000 megawatts. And your wealth to income fund will also grow massively. And I have not shown you that, so Paul, bear with me. That is too important not to leave out, because this is right in what Leroy is talking about. Your income fund balance will look like this in brown. With all of that, despite all what we do, the income fund balance, because of those monthly payments coming in, which is half of what you'll be paying JPS, becomes 3,400 million by year 10. And I will wrap it up at that and said, this is what is possible. And from here on now, for those who still don't get it, how much more time we have, Paul?
You have to stop now. We have no more time now except for questions and comments.
That can't be. We started at 1 o'clock, we are at 2:30.
I don't know what time zone you're in, David.
All
We
right.
started
Okay.
at
All right.
4:50.
I am 3 hour difference to you.
What
So,
time?
to that. So you're at 5:30.
We are at 5:30 now?
We're at 20 to 6.
You're right, 5:39.
So I agree, we
let me
really
leave-
now
let me
need
leave
to
it-
go
let me leave
to
it there now,
response.
because you have some people who want to come in. So I will sign off. I will sign off at that, and it will probably get answered in the next part. So take it back, Paul. You can take off my screen I guess I have to do that.
Yeah, just stop share. And over to you, Angela.
Okay. All I can say is, wow, what a presentation.
What you cut the time? What go on anyway?
Clear, concise, illuminating. Wasn't done in a vacuum. And indeed, David, it was solutions oriented. And that is really exceptional. So Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you to, as my co-chair, to moderate this section of the agenda. Paul?
All right. I was really not co-chair, Angela. But
I thought you were.
oh no, this was your show.
Ugh. Don't say it.
All right. So I don't
And
know.
David, I must say, I visited your ice cream shop in Clarendon, and I ate ice cream from your store.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
Every Sunday evening, 7 o'clock. Jeez.
All right. I believe we lost some of our responders. Certainly, Kedron Allen was on. I don't see him anymore.
His electricity went.
He was on earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, for quite some while.
His
Okay.
electricity went, so he's
Okay.
I am not even seeing a, are we putting up a copy of the agenda? Because
No, we don't need it. We don't need it here, Angela.
okay,
Right.
so Paul, you know the people who are scheduled to give responses.
Well, I'm going to be very honest. I don't see them on this platform. At least I invited them all, right? But I just don't see them at all, right? So what should have happened? I know, and the invitations went out early. There is a topic area. There is a subject area, sorry. But we invited the 6 regional chairs or their nominees, representatives of the Patriots, the PNPYO, the Women's Movement, and the NWU. I personally spoke to Philip Paulwell on Thursday, who confirmed he would participate. I've not seen him, but there are so many different activities going on right now. And of course, Kedron Allen, the junior spokesperson on energy, was there.
Yeah,
So we have 17 more minutes before we close. So Andrew, perhaps we should just invite comments, questions from our members who are on the platform.
Okay, you said it.
Can I just cut in before you go?
Certainly, go ahead, David.
For questions, please stay away from making statements. Questions start with why, how, what if, so and so. Statements I will not respond to. If you make a statement, I will give you the opportunity to rephrase it and ask me a question. I have no time for people who come.
You know, you are the host, right? So you would see the hands off. Or how are you going to do it?
Anybody can say hands up, but I turned over the host to you, and because I had to move from where I was, my internet was.
The host, is it Maureen and Alicia?
No, Alicia and yourself are hosts, but anybody can say hands up. So I'm going to invite anybody who has a question or want to make a comment. David does not need to respond to any comments whatsoever. So Michael, welcome. This is Comrade Michael Ennis. Never had the privilege of being a YO member, but somebody who has an interest in the subject here. Michael, welcome. Go ahead for me.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Clear.
Okay, great. Sorry, I missed maybe half of the presentation. The link I got had a security flag on it, And that may also explain some people who may have been absent, because I actually had to reach out to Paul much later. So my question really, is there a recording of this presentation I can look at later?
Certainly, and you will get it today. No, let me give you 24 hours. Alisa,
Okay.
is there a problem that Michael actually WhatsApped me saying that there was a security flagging on the YouTube link? I didn't see it when I went onto YouTube.
Neither did I. And I have persons there watching, so I didn't get that. So I
Okay.
didn't see that.
Do we have any more questions? Any more questions, Alicia? I haven't seen any hands.
Okay, can I suggest then that I do this, if Paul will agree? I'm going to demonstrate using some of you who are here now as to what it will mean for you. And that should answer a lot of the questions that you have in your head.
I have a specific question for David.
Sure.
David, you must have mentioned this through the presentation, but since I missed it, and maybe you can help me out here. Basically, I gather what you're saying from what I saw was a combination of renewable energy and more efficient energy generation equipment to come out of the
Michael, I never used the word renewable not once in my entire presentation, and that
that's why I'm asking the question. That's why I'm asking the question.
And I'm
right?
trying
Because
to get
I didn't get. I would have missed.
But to everybody listening.
No, David, sorry.
Go ahead.
Remember, I said I missed most of the presentation.
I know. That's why I'm explaining.
Maybe you can answer the question specifically. And I started out by saying what I suspected you were saying was between renewable and more efficient. I understand.
Give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I'll answer you.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not renewables. It's not fossil fuels. It's none of that. It's no fuels at all. No imported fuels. Imported, you use what you have, whatever you have in abundance. It's not an issue of renewables. It's not an issue of fossils. It's none of those issues. It is you get rid of US dollar wastage, foreign exchange wastage, so that you can break Kissinger's hole, which is a negative 550 million per year. And JPS alone is 600 million. So if you get rid of fuels out of JPS, you have already broken Kissinger's hole. And we can do that in 6 years or less. So please,
question is how. No, my question is how.
And I went through and showed how.
Since we have some time, can you just give a summary of that?
Michael, what really need after that is a little bit more technical discussion on it, because I too have some questions that I want to research first before I ask, because I listened, but I got lost on some of the correlation between storage, manufacturing, which I understood and appreciated his definition of manufacturing, and how that in itself, without talking about the generation from whatever source, would save us that money. But again, I'm not an energy expert, so I'm going to read a little bit about it and then get back to it. But I'm going to watch back the program, which I'm going to send out on a wider scale. Next up, I think your mic is open. You want to speak? Dexter? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, you'd want to say something, Dexter?
No, not.
Okay, then please mute. So,
Okay.
any other comments before we wrap up? I mean, to thank David and then to wrap up.
Well, before you wrap up then, can I guess, since we have a little time, I would like to do this so that I can better illustrate what I'm saying. Paul, you, since you're on the line, I'll just use you. Okay, you and Butch and a few are in the same position. You have a home and you have a business. Let's assume you're running 30,000 a month light bill at home. JPS figures tells me that business use 10 times as much. So if you're running 30,000 there, you're running 300,000 a month in your business. I can replace all of that. And when I say I mean the fund. Out of the fund. We can replace all of that by a total of 120,000 US, being 2 cars, 2 electric vehicles, along with the power on your house or at your workplace to be able to recharge those vehicles. That is gonna cost you, therefore, less than 1/2 of your present combined bills, especially when I now throw in gasoline, which you will no longer have. So your costs gone down by more than half. Anybody who is in a position of the business and home, and if you notice, I'm talking here now about 2 5-seater vehicles. They can be hatchback, they can be small SUVs. They essentially have about 40 kilowatt hours of battery in the storage. That's why we're going after storage for us. So if I get 1,000 like you, which is 40 times 2 vehicles, times 1,000, that is already 80 megawatts out of the 100 that I'm after. I only have now 20 more megawatts to go, and I can do that via households. I'm just giving you so you can see how it works. You can see how quickly it can be done. You can see that there's more than one way of attacking the outcome, but the outcome is the same. Maybe by the second year, I turn mainly to households, and I do more households rather than cars. Maybe by the third year, I turn to gas stations, and I put in equipment that they can recharge EVs, electric vehicles. You can keep on going year after year in getting this 100 megawatt per year times 10, which is 1,000, whereas JPS is 500, so that you're actually in a position where you never ever worry about a power cut. And everybody price gone down by half. And the excess, I can produce excess and send it via JPS lines to manufacturers who can get it for 5 cents or less than 10 cents. You're paying 30 cents now. So you can stimulate manufacturing. Does that make sense?
Paul, may I say something?
Go ahead.
It appears to me that David's presentation was based on the assumption that people had read the document that we sent out, the 2.5-page document on energy transformation, which is the position we had agreed on, which sets out precisely what we would do and how it would be carried out, which is to say a stage 1 and a stage 2 program. The stage 1 being the elimination of 70% of JPS fuel imports within the first 5 years, and stage 2 being the elimination of 70% of transportation fuel imports within the second 5 years. And that essentially we would be depending on solar and wind power. I mean, and apparently he didn't think that he needed to repeat all of this stuff, and was therefore going into a deeper background and showing how this would impact on the economy, because that is really what he was concentrating on.
Paul? No answer?
All?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, any comments, suggestions?
No, I think, Angela, without overdoing the word wonderful, it's time for you to wrap up.
Okay, okay, Paul.
And also, I think we really push, I just want to say to everybody, we really circulated this information to NEC members 3 times this week.
But
To
Paul,
members of the region, we really pushed it. And it shows that apart from people having a lot of things to do and conflicting interests, that maybe the importance of energy is still far under appreciated.
Paul, can I say something? I was just thinking, do you think that the Sunday afternoon is the best time for these sessions? Because it's not just this one, you know, the attendance for the last 2 were lackluster.
Yeah, that is a concern.
If we need to look at the day and the time, maybe people don't want to do these things on a Sunday. I don't know. Like I said, you know, I live outside of Jamaica. You
Very good
are
point,
reading
Madam
the
Chair.
pulse of the people. You're reading the pulse of the people there. So you know, I would imagine you would have a better sense of this. But, you know, I'm just thinking if that might be a factor. The Sunday afternoons. I don't know.
May I, Angelo?
Yes, of course.
You might be correct, given that Zoom chats are the more popular way of group participation now, thanks to COVID. Many of us have multiple group chats to participate in. I had actually 2 or 3 today. Okay, I chose to come to this one because of my interest in energy, despite the fact that I couldn't get on early. But yeah, and then Sunday might be the most convenient day. So there's lots of group chats on a Sunday. I don't think because people don't want to participate, but maybe there's just so much competing chats on that day. What I can suggest, however, is that topics as important as this should not be a one-time session. It maybe should be repeated and narrowed as we go along. Paul mentioned that, you know, we could come back with more, you know, informed, where the audience is a little bit more informed. And I think Leroy actually pointed out that there was an attempt to do that. So maybe we should have multiple sessions of these, and it will eventually pick up, because energy is not a one-time thing. It is very significant. I agree with David. It might be the most significant thing to our economic recovery. So it maybe having it multiple times, having a series, you will capture most of the people, not at one time, but eventually.
Okay. I agree. But Paul,
I know, I take the point. I've always been concerned about days. I will tell you, I was trying to set a meeting of another committee, and everybody is just to get everybody together at one time is very challenging. Yes, Michael, the word I was looking for was competing interest. Start first. Thanks for reminding me. I too have a funeral service going on now for a friend which I have chosen not to go to. Right? So everybody has things. So the point raised is something we have to look at. We have education scheduled for Sunday. I think we still have to keep with that one, but we have to look at days. I think we have to our people in London, there are only 4, and they come on 50% of the time. I think we just have to, we can't accommodate them by trying to go too late. Because even when we go to 4, they're at 9 o'clock in the night. But if we start at 6 one evening when people have left work, we might get double the participants or even more, even more at 7. So we have to consider it very carefully. And some people just want Sunday to relax, to
Yes,
lie back.
absolutely.
The Tony Spalding
Thing was a-
discussion took place on a Wednesday,
right.
and we had like 51 people participating.
Yes.
So I don't know if the difference was Tony Spalding or because of the day and time.
It actually went up a little bit more at a point in time. Actually went up,
Got to
went up to about
80
78 at one point in time.
at one point, and it was held during the week.
All right. So Alisa, make us pull a quick meeting of this planning committee to review what day will be the best. But Angela, we are now at 1:06. I would like you to thank all.
Wrap up, and I'd like to thank everyone for spending time with us this afternoon. Much appreciated. And you notice I did not use the word wonderful except once. So, thank you to David, Maureen, all the presenters, and of course the 70s YO fraternity and our guests, as few as it was. But comrades, please stay firm and join us in these very illuminating discussion. Once again, thank you all very much for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you next week, Sunday.
And although we didn't see Dawn, we saw Sharon, we heard Dexter.
No, you didn't see Dawn, but Dawn is here.
I know.
Yes, I didn't, and Gerald White Davis.
I saw Gerald earlier.
briefly.
I saw Gerald earlier.
Hi, everyone. Comrades, thank you. And Mr. Cook, David Cook, I learned so much because I'm not at all a technical person, but how you broke things down, really appreciate it. And it's amazing the lack of will over the years to really come to grips with what drives the economy and what the things we can do. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone. Once again.
One quick, if I can.
Paul,
If we ever repeat this again, can somebody not squeeze me so hard for time?
No, David, you strayed a little bit. I will tell you this, and it was important to establish a background. And we could have done without the comments from running people out of the PNP in my view. So we will talk about that. Alisa, I am no longer the host. Can you close the meeting for me, please? I'm no longer the host.
Good night. Good
Okay.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Good night, Comrade Dunn. Comrade
Good night.
Roland Dexter, my fellow Titchfield alum.
Good night, everyone. Have a good week.
You too. Blessing.
Maureen.
One love, one blessing.
Yeah. Yes.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Sharon. Good
Bye.
to see you. Bye-bye.
Alisa, stop the live. Stop the live on YouTube for me, please. And close off the meeting. Stop the live on YouTube for me, please. And close the meeting.
I can stop it. It's not my account. I can stop it.
So rotted.
Paul, it's your account. You need to stop.
But I don't know. That laptop is down at the office. All right. Cool on.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Once you turn off, I think it will link up. So close, leave meeting for me, please, Alisa. Just press leave, end meeting, and it will lock off the live YouTube.
So again, I cannot do that. I can't end meeting because I'm just a co-host.
Yeah, man, you can end meeting.
Oh, let me see.
You can't end meeting.
We can't leave meeting. Can we press leave meeting?
Yes, you can leave. I'm just trying to end.
Angela, I should have made a host before I left, but I was having internet problems.
Okay.